not probably going to put this very well, but I was going to. I've only just remembered that I was going to do this, so it's a little bit like not as clear as when I was thinking about it earlier. I was going to ask you if you feel that the progressives in the 90s, like 80s, early 90s, started talking about multiculturalism as a way of undermining the concept of multi-ethnic cultures, so that instead of talking about a predominant culture, so for example, like Britain, you'd be talking about the British culture, and the British culture is a multi-ethnic culture, and what they've done is they've undermined the concept of that British culture by introducing multiculturalism instead of multi-ethnicity under a monoculture, which is what is preferable. But yeah, curious about your thoughts around that.
Well, I think he's put it exactly correct there. I mean, Britain as an island has always been, and even that you can even break that down into the regions of the constituent nations that are like multi-ethnic and have like their own sort of local culture, but it's all part of an overriding sort of monoculture. You know, everyone recognizes something British when they're abroad, and like, you know, you go on. I've been on holiday to, like, you know, Greece and Spain and stuff, and you're in a bar and you hear someone talking a Scottish accent. You talk to them rather than you trying to have some conversation with someone from Lithuania or something, right? It's, you know, it's inevitable that this is the case. And I think he's right as well. For me, the thing I remember is in the late 80s and early 90s, hearing the term political correctness being used as if it means something or it's got some legitimacy. And it was multiculturalism came in the 2000s, as far as I was aware, sort of early 2000s. Oh, but what about multiculturalism? What about it? Screw multiculturalism. Other cultures suck. To hell with them. You know, be British. You know, it's not about a commentary about your race or your religion. What it's a commentary on is your standards, your properness, how you think the world should, the world should be. And there's no reason that we can't say, well, look, anyone from any race can obviously adhere to the same standards, following the same culture. This is why we, in our last True Englishman podcast, we're like, well, yeah, David Lammy is English in the cultural sense. You know, he's born and raised here. You know, okay, his blood might not be from here, but who cares? You know, what difference does that make? If David Lammy goes to Africa, he's not going to be treated like he's a native, you know. So obviously we're talking about something that goes beyond that, and we should have been more firm about this. We shouldn't have allowed the left to kind of slip all this in. Oh, it's not politically correct to say you're against multiculturalism. No, but it is common sense, and it is something that is beneficial for the country as a whole. But then I'm not a communist subverter, and I don't want to see Britain destroyed. So I guess I would hold that opinion, wouldn't I?
Yeah. I mean, the term political correctness by definition means something that is politically correct but not actually correct.
Exactly.
So I don't know about the United States. I assume the United States kept monoculturalism as its government policy because that's the idea, the melting pot. That's what
absolutely
monoculturalism is.
America has a very strong ethos of integration. You come to America to be an American. And being an American is waving the flag, 4th of July, freedom, burgers.
Yeah, but one of the interesting things in Britain, so the Blair government, the Brown, and then subsequently the Cameron government all had it as government policy. That the government policy was multiculturalism. I mean, this was baked into the way they were meant to operate.
Even further than that, I recall a few years ago seeing a quote from Gordon Brown in 2007, right? Now, this is something you haven't heard for some time. There is no British culture. You haven't heard that for ages, have you? Right? This was, go back to 10 years ago, this was a very big buzz phrase. They would use all the time, oh, there's no British culture. What is British culture? I mean, you still hear that occasionally, but now you've got the Smithsonian going, oh, well, this is the culture of whiteness. Let me lay out all the things. And as we did in the Tucker Carlson podcast, which is up actually, this really is just talking about the culture of Britain, more specifically England. But this is the point. They literally were full on the sort of like, there is no native culture to Britain, and therefore all of these other cultures are prestigious and should be considered important, whereas in fact that's the total opposite way we should have gone about these things if we wanted integration, which is why in America there does seem to be better integration. Although I think that in the last sort of 5-10 years there'll be many Americans listening who are like, that's not the case now, and it's probably not the case now because of the insidious poison that the left has been pouring into our ears for this.
But I mean, I wasn't political for this period, so looking back on it, I'm just like, why are these insane people saying this and no one's flipping out?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Blair and even Cameron, going back to that, his first government, saying that multiculturalism is what they want. I mean, unless they were just thinking that it's different kinds of food or something, but of course they weren't. No. There was other things there, which is why David Cameron in his second government came out and said, actually, we need to end this as government policy
Yeah.
because it doesn't work and it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I actually completely agree with David Cameron's like muscular liberalism.
This is the same time.
Yeah, it was at the same time where he was just like, look, this is what we need. It's like, yeah, it is what we needed about 10, 15 years ago. You're really too late at this point. You know, you've gone too far and something needs to be done, but you don't know what that is. And so you can come out and say, well, we need this. It's like, yeah, but you're not going to do it. So shut up. If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.